When I joined MAF, I really had no ambitions to basically one day become the CEO of the company. I realized a year into the job that I wasn't cut for it.
If someone comes and tells you, what's going to keep me always motivated?
I'll say, ask yourself. Real leaders are self-starters. They have to be comfortable with themselves. Lebanon used to be a country where people used to come to it for standards, and we have basically destroyed that.
Through Shark Tank, you were exposed to a number of Lebanese entrepreneurs. What are the top problems you saw in Lebanese entrepreneurship?
A Lebanese entrepreneur is put on such an unfair playing field with any other entrepreneur in the world.
Are we too far to be saved?
Alain Bejjani, one of the most influential CEOs in the MENA region, a former CEO of Majid Futtaim Group, and currently an investor on Shark Tank. Get ready for insights from a leader who has shaped the future of retail, leadership, and strategic growth. Welcome to Thought Leadership Uncovered.
Putting everything on the side, who is Alain Bejjani?
Everyone has one. People have different personas depending how they know me. Some people knew me in my corporate life previously. Some people know me more on the thought leadership life. Now a lot of people know me coming on the Shark Tank thing. So people put different, develop different personas of what the perception they have and how they see you. But at the end of the day, if asking me who I am, I'm a Lebanese guy that actually was trained as a lawyer in Paris, worked in Lebanon, had an interesting career in terms of the topics that and the positions that I have occupied and learned from. At 28, I was appointed Executive Vice Chairman of the Investment Development Authority of Lebanon. That was in 2000, and President Hariri was then heading the Council of Ministers. It was a very interesting period for Lebanon. And for me, it was very formative because I was relatively young, if not very young. I spent 4 years plus in that role. I learned a lot from him, but also from being in a situation that had a bit of technical on the investment side about promoting Lebanon as investment destination and attracting investments to Lebanon, cutting the red tape. Really, what does it take to make a country investable or investment ready? And at the same time, promoting Lebanese exports outside. So really working practically on how to basically make the best of what we had. And at the time, of course, Lebanon had a great leader. That was 2000, 2005. Okay. I also was in parallel a lawyer. I had already started my career as a lawyer. And then afterwards, in 2006, I moved to Dubai. I joined Majid Futtaim as also an internal legal counsel, as vice president at the time of basically the legal function. And then I spent until 2023 with MAF. I moved from legal to business about a year after I joined MAF and became CEO in 2015 until 2023. And of course, all of this time, I was someone who's very interested, in of course what I do, but also developing my thinking and learning from what I was going through. And I had always a knack for thought leadership. So this is something that I particularly enjoy. So you ask me who I am. I'm just a guy who actually have learned a bit during my career so far. And I believe that proactivity and being intentional about what we do has a big impact on your direct environment, but also big impact on your community, societies that you are in. And I believe that people should engage in public discourse in a constructive and positive way. And this is why thought leadership for me is important. It's because people follow other people. People look up to people. And a lot of what actually impacts and shapes people thinking is how our other people thinking and behavior. So leaders generally, and I'm a big proponent of leadership in terms of it being one of the biggest forces that shape our future and drive the way we do things. Leaders have, in my opinion, a big role in partaking into the public discourse in order to improve things and in order to continuously promote a constructive input into into the progress of our societies and basically people's lives. At the end of the day, for me, leadership is about how you impact people's life in a positive way. You can do that as a CEO, you can do that as a thought leader, you can do that as a political figure, you can do that simply as a father in a family, as a sibling, as anything. Anyone impact others, because we live amongst each other. And we as a human species have kind of constructed ourselves in communities, in small nucleus communities, families, and then in bigger communities, okay, and of course, and then from there at a global scale. So every individual has a big impact on its surrounding environment. Some people cast a longer shadow because of their position, because of their ability to impact, and some people may cast a shorter shadow, but they still cast a shadow. So this is why I'm basically engaged in what I do, and this is what actually and this is something that I particularly enjoy and find very important.
And I love that how you mentioned it, because it's going to shape up my next question. It's not very common to see a lawyer, like typically someone from the legal department, to grow his way to head one of the biggest holdings in the region, if not even it can be compared back globally. How do you think, like, and especially in our region, like I cannot name too many people that actually done that. So, what was the shift? The secret. You said that it was your proactivity and you wanted to get. Like, was it from day one you knew what you want to get there, or it happened along the way?
No, this was not basically for me. It wasn't even something I would have thought about, because I'm a lawyer by training, and I'm someone who has always been very commercial minded. Even when I was a lawyer, basically acting as a lawyer, I was very commercial in my relationship with my clients. I was always their lawyer, but also their advisor on the commercial aspects of their businesses and stuff like that. Of course, my tenure at IDAL also helped me to shape up and be even more commercial shape up on that side, and also helped me a lot, or I would say my legal training helped me a lot in my IDAL's career or tenure. When I joined MAV, I really had no ambitions to basically one day become the CEO of the company, because I joined as a lawyer. And then I realized a year into the job that I wasn't cut for it. I had always been a lawyer, kind of a practicing lawyer. So going into a legal department is a different way of actually of consulting on legal matters. It's more laid back, I would say, and it's more, I would say, you're less. No, I wouldn't say bureaucracy. I think it's a very important role for people. People have to be properly advised legally, but at the end of the day, being part of a legal department, of course, can be, depending on your character, what you like, what you dislike, can be a bit dull if you are used, or what drives you is more being a bit more on the front line than actually playing a bit basically a bench role. So I realized a year later that this wasn't done for me. I went to one of my predecessors at the time, and I told him, look, I've joined MAF a year ago, love the company, but this job is not for me. And there's nothing wrong about the job or about the company, but I'm not cut for it. So I think I'm going to resign because I'd rather go back to my basically lawyer's career as an external lawyer in Lebanon. And then he told me, but wait a minute, why are you doing that? You've been here for a year. We actually kind of like you. And he told me at the time, I'm leaving myself. He was about to basically.
Was he legal or commercial?
No, he was just the CEO of the company. He was a commercial guy. And he told me, I'm also leaving myself in about a month or a month and a half at the time. His contract was nearing the end. So I'd like you to stay. And then when the new CEO comes, have the conversation with him and then decide what you want to do. So I said, fine. That was in June. I waited till September, came back in September. I said, this is not about you, but
it's not working.
And this is the second time I have this conversation. And then he told me, look, I just started. I really don't know much about this thing. So give me a couple of weeks. Came back, had the conversation for the third time. And then he told me, okay, I understand, but actually would like to keep you. Would you be interested to move into more of a business development role. I hear you're very commercial. Would you do that? And at the time, there was a plan to kind of set up a unit, a business development unit at the holding level in Majid Al Futtaim. I said, yeah, why not? I'll do that. I thought I'll give it a shot since I'm already here. Why not? And this is how I kind of by chance moved from legal to actually more of a business role. And then the rest is history, and I continued on that side of the business. Nice. Until I basically took over the CEO role in 2015. Along
that time, knowing that you're a proactive person, you're a forward-looking person, was there at that time, were there any people or figures you were looking up to, anything you were reading specifically, or what's the reason, like what's the drive behind the proactivity?
I don't think there is. I can't pinpoint to something specific. It's how I am. It's my character. At the end of the day, I think one of the things that shapes people's careers and how people evolve in life is not their training, is not their as much, I would say. It's more their character and how they go about things. Some people are more laid back, some people are more proactive, some people are whatever. There's no right and wrong, but we are all made differently. And basically, if you reflect on your career, you would see that most of what shapes the choices that you make, that could be defining choices at time, are more your character, your aspiration, how you see things, rather than your training. So, and of course there is luck. I mean, sometimes the opportunity arrives at a point in time, and then you decide that you take it on or you don't take it on. I think it's Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, the ruler of Dubai, that once said that opportunities come to everyone. Okay, those who are ready for them see them, and those who aren't ready for them, they just don't see the opportunity, and they complain that there are no opportunities. Exactly. So opportunities are always there. We all face numerous opportunities in a lifetime. If we're ready, if you've worked on ourselves, if we are clear about what you want to do, if we are driven, we generally spot the opportunity and basically try to make the best out of it.
They say usually that basically if we don't fail, it means we're not trying hard enough. Let's say, if you want to reflect back on your career for the past years, was there any failures or I would say learnings that kind of stuck with you and you would give an advice based on that?
I mean, yes, I agree. But now, I don't think that it's about failure or success. I think it's about learning. I mean, the only way to evolve in life is to learn. And everything you do, if you're doing anything, you're going to get to a point whereby you'll have to try. And when you try, there is a risk you take. I mean, take a toddler who's trying to walk. Okay, typically they will basically fall a number of times before they're able to walk. And if they don't try, okay, they will never learn how to walk. So the point is, you always take on risks, okay? And your drive has to overcome your fear. And that's what we call courage. So it's the same in life. It's the same in our careers. You have to be driven enough to basically take on risks. And of course, when you take on a risk, which means you do something, there is a possibility for you to fail. Now, it could be failure. Failure is not always the big failure. Sometimes you just, it's iterative. You learn how to go about things, you change, correct course, and so on. And sometimes there are big failures. Sometimes people fail in greater, I would say, ways than they would have liked to. And what we do about it, either we take it as an opportunity to learn and we learn from it, or we actually don't, and we stop at that, and then we become we imprison ourselves in a mindset where we feel victims of whatever happened, that it wasn't fair, it was whatever, etc. I think it's very important for a leader to have enough curiosity and a learning mindset, to learn from everything, whether from your successes or from your failures. And to be able to do that, you have to have some perspectives. I think one of the important things in life is to always have some perspective between you and yourself. Be able to watch yourself acting and say, oh, this is where this is where I should correct course. This is right. This is wrong. This is why am I thinking this way? Why am I framing things in this way and not that way? What about things are not the way I am seeing them, but there is another vantage point that may not be obvious to me, and so on and so forth. And this is how you learn. So learnings are not always kind of big lessons. There are sometimes very small incremental lessons that we accumulate with time. And basically, if we use them well, they hone our capabilities, and we simply become a better leader with time.
Nice. The journey at the top, they say it's lonely, and it's not easy to be. You're calling the shots, you're making the decisions, and you're liable at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So based on what you just said right now, that you have to have a perspective, and you have to be, you have to have some kind of like a bigger picture. So leading, you've led something huge, and you were on top, and you were liable to decisions, I would say, that you had to take. So how can CEOs make sure that they have they're equipped with the right tools or people to make sure they're making the right decisions? Or how can they make the right decisions?
So two aspects. One is, yes, there is this say that it's lonely at the top. I've always said that it's actually not lonely at the top. You're very much entertained. There's so many people around you, but you're alone. So different people view that alone thing in different ways. Some people, it affects some people more than others. Because at the end of the day, the buck stops with you. So you are alone when making decisions. People will advise you. People will suggest this, suggest that, talk to you through the pros and cons and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, you're the CEO. The buck stops with you, and the responsibility sits with you. Some people take that in a good way. Some people take that in a way where they find it a bit too much possible. But no, it's not lonely at the top. There's so many people around you. You barely have time for yourself, but you are alone. So when you're at the top, you better be in a situation where you are actually happy with yourself, and basically able to go 360 degree in your thinking on your own. It doesn't mean that you should do it on your own. You'll always have every input, but comfortable being on your own and making the decisions and calling the shots. A lot of people, when they get at the top, they actually, you know this image about kind of the, like a deer in the headlight. They get to a point where not much changes in their lives. That they may have been C-suite or basically, or basically kind of very, very close to the CEO job. But then when they are the ones that actually have to call the shot, and the responsibility sits with them. They kind of find it, whatever. They feel that they're not ready for it, or so they go into different ways, like analysis paralysis, like trying to analyze too much before they make a decision. Try to, as you say, be comfortable that the decision is the right one, and so on. They've got the right information, they've got the right whatever. But at the end of the day, a CEO's role, a leader's role, generally, is actually to be able to make a decision, the best informed decision, okay? Mm-hmm. But the best informed decision always has a level of inaccuracy, potentially ambiguity, etc. So one of the main, I would say, qualities of a CEO or of a leader generally is to actually be comfortable with ambiguity. You will never have 100% clear decision. A decision that's 100% clear.
Sure, exactly.
And for you just to basically press the button that is green. Okay, you're always pressing on gray buttons, and some of them turn out green, some of them turn out red. But you have to basically be comfortable with the ambiguity, be comfortable in taking some risk, and also be sharp enough, both on the technical side to actually understand the information that you have available to you, or the analysis, and also on the other side, have your business acumen honed enough for it to help you when you need it. So my thing is, no, you're not lonely at the top. You're alone at the top, and this comes with the territory. That's a job for a CEO or any kind of high-level leader. And on the other side, you have to be comfortable with ambiguity. If you're not comfortable with ambiguity, this is why people look at you for leadership. You guide them, you show them the way, but no one's going to show you the way for you to show them the way. So this is why you're there. And if you're not comfortable, then move on, do something else.
When was the most time you felt that you're aligned with what you're doing and where do you want to reach?
Always. I've never been in a situation when I felt that I was wasting my time or what I'm doing is not going to lead me to
actually, when you felt it, you told them so it's not working.
Yeah, so the example is the one I just gave you. When I felt that I was in a place where I wasn't cut for it. There was nothing wrong about the place. It's me. Okay, it's my aspiration, what I like, what I dislike. It was more about the how than the what. I went and said, look, I want to move on. And I think it's very important to be able to move on. When you're unable to move on, you lose your independence and you lose your ability to actually to call your own shots in your own life. And this is something that I wish it for no one, because you become kind of a prisoner of a situation, and that can't be happy.
What can keep, let's say, a leader, let's talk about motivation, because a leader has to motivate, and in order to be motivate, you have to be motivated.
Yes.
You can say yes. It goes back to the drive.
Yeah.
From your side, and you've been seeing. Let's say you've led the company. You see entrepreneurs, and if someone comes and tells you, what's gonna keep you always motivated?
I'll say, ask yourself. I mean, you can't find your answers, or you cannot find basically your answer in someone else's replies. Other people can inspire you. They can trigger your thinking. But at the end of the day, each one of us has to find his own why. No one's going to give you your why. Okay, so you have to know, you have to work on yourself, you have to know depending on the situations you are in. But at the end of the day, I think real leaders are self-starters. Leaders are self-starters. They have the ability to actually they have to be comfortable with themselves. I think that's very important. Someone who isn't as comfortable with him or herself would suffer from being kind of in a top spot. It's very important for people to be comfortable with themselves. If they're not comfortable with themselves, it's very difficult for them to be able to lead others, because they already have to overcome their own struggles. Okay, and I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying this is how it is. This is how human beings are. So one of the prerequisites of being able to effectively lead others is for you to be comfortable with yourself, and the corollary with that is for you to be able to lead yourself, because the most difficult thing is leading yourself, not leading others. I mean, this is something I write about in the book. It's our most daunting challenge as human beings and as leaders is to lead ourselves, because we are the most complacent with our own selves. If you think about it, if you talk to people, whatever, you would see that people are generally the most complacent with their own self. And I always give this example. People struggling to lose weight. I mean, I'm someone who has wanted to lose weight for almost 50 years now. And basically that requires discipline. Okay, and why most of us aren't able to do it when we want to do it and at the scale we want to do it? Because we're not as disciplined. Why aren't we as disciplined? Because we're complacent. So of course this is a very simple thing about lifestyle. Okay, but if you take it to another level, for example, how many times you talk to people and they tell you why they were not able to do this, and yes, but I had a tough time here, I went through a rough patch, which is true at times. But at the end of the day, you have to say, okay, this is my life, I have to lead myself, okay, and I have to basically shape up. A lot of people find it difficult to do so, and basically they either say, okay, that's a learning, I have to shape up, and this is what I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to be serious about it. I'm going to bring down the complacency to the minimum level possible. Or people say that basically they are victim of whatever. I mean, some people would tell you that, we're now here in Lebanon, some people would tell you the situation is so bad. Okay, it's good that we're still alive, or that we're still functioning. Yeah, fantastic. For me, it doesn't cut it. Okay, a lot of entrepreneurs that I meet come and tell me that, look what you've been through. Yeah, fantastic. So what? You've been through that, yes, but you're continuing. So you can't say, I want to continue and say, okay, but look what I've been through. You've been through that, unfair, whatever it is, learn from it, move on. Okay? Otherwise, you can't progress. So you become stuck in a situation, whether it's personal events, whether it's events in your immediate circle, whether it's professional events, whether it is the community or the society, the country you're in, the region you're in. Life is unfair. I mean, you cannot go through life moaning about how unfair life is. This is how life is. If you haven't gotten it, if you didn't get it, you're not going to get it.
Take it or leave
So
it.
take it or leave it. You don't get to actually bargain or you don't get to actually negotiate life. What you get to do is to improve your life and to live it to its fullest, the way you do what makes you happy, or, okay, just drag yourself through life. These are personal choices. Some people realize that they are personal choices and make them, some people don't.
I love that point. Going back, you mentioned something key, finding your why, finding our why. Each one has to do it. Have you find your why?
Have I found it? I don't know. Maybe I have. I feel that I did. And I think this is something that also evolves with you over time. I would say that what drives me, and this has always been the case, is actually impact. So you would see me, I'm a leader, I'm someone who, I'm not very regarding on the how in terms of we've done so much, whatever, etc. And I always say we shouldn't, all of us, confuse motion with progress. We spend a lot of time talking about motion, but really what matters is progress. So what really drives me is basically impact. And that impact doesn't have to be only commercial, it could be impact on several levels.
A human, personal.
Exactly, but what matters is basically progress, not motion to me. One
of the books I was reading, actually, they talk about the difference between being busy and being effective.
Yeah, I mean, being busy is not a measure of effectiveness. Absolutely. And that's another way of putting it. I agree with you. What really matters to me is actually impact, and because if we don't have impact, we can't lead. There's no leadership without impact. I mean, today we're living a great example here in Lebanon. I mean, we've got a lot of leadership, but there's no impact. So in reality, what people don't realize is that this country has no leadership.
100%.
Because if we had leadership, there would be an impact. I mean, if you look at the past 5-6 years, or you look at the past 25 years, we're still struggling with the same problems. Whether it's from the simple issue of collecting garbage, to electricity, to telecom, to infrastructure, to public debt, to a ballooning private sector, to ineffective economy, and now to the banking sector being totally in disarray for the past 6 years, and so on and so forth, to our public debt that we're unable to solve, and so on and so forth. So we are in this situation because we have no leadership. So having leadership, it doesn't mean having senior people in positions. It's their ability to actually drive impact, to actually make things happen. And this is a country where nothing happens. All what we do is to incubate problems. So you can be that kind of leader that incubates problems and basically tell people how great you are, and no one else would have done something else. And whenever you talk to these people, they tell you, yes, this one. If this one is not good enough, you think that one is better. I mean, this is not an answer. Okay. Bring it down to a personal level, it's the same. It's about impact. That no impact equal no leadership.
Do you think the problem, now that we mentioned Lebanon slightly, and I'll ask you this question. Do you think as Lebanese, we have a certain entitlement? We feel we're entitled? That's why we don't have sometimes drive in some places?
I mean, look, a society that has been through all what we've been through in Lebanon, and this is not now, for the past 50, 60 years, we have been in a multiplicity of failings over 6 decades, 7 decades. Of course, our surroundings are not easy. Of course, we are in a situation. This region has been put in a very unfair situation, and this has impacted everything. But also at the same time, the way we have chosen to deal with those situations have always been taken a toll on how things unfolded. And what do I mean by that? We're not the only region that had a post-colonial era that may haven't been the way people would have wanted it. But also we have to acknowledge the fact that post-colonial era actually brought a lot of these countries to life. So what have we done with our own destiny since then? A lot of people tell, yes, but they didn't allow us to do that because of whatever. Yeah, I mean, people interfere in other people's problems and countries all over the world. This is not new.
It's given. It's politics.
Yeah, this is how it works. And the world is an unfair place. Life is an unfair place. So move on. Love it or leave it. The way we have dealt with it, because of our internal conflicts and internal, I would say, biases and internal disagreements, have been basically to unanimously, we have kind of hidden behind external forces to try to benefit from them, to take advantage internally on each other's. And everyone has failed at that. Every community, religious community, sometimes every country in the region has, at the end of the day, failed at it. Okay, what really happened is that the people of these countries, sometimes willingly, some unwillingly, have given up their destiny to despots in the region. In Lebanon, we didn't have a despot. We had many despots. We still have few of them that actually have taken over the control of the society. So a society that goes through that, with all what comes with it in terms of failures, in terms of wrong role models, in terms of, I would say, total destruction of the value system, and actually a promotion of a wrong value system where people promote the wrong behaviors as actually being witty or being smart or being whatever. You know, some of the says in Lebanese that we all use, okay, that actually really promote the wrong value system. You actually end up in a situation whereby society becomes a mirror of its leadership rather than the leadership being the result or the mirror of society. So it's kind of a vicious circle that you enter into. It's not easy for people to do that. And then, of course, you have all the things that drag you down, whether it's your poor economic performance, whether it's the decaying education system that you start to get into because of lack of investment, whether it's because of the lack of ambition that becomes smaller and smaller and smaller, whether because of the feel that we're always behind compared to others, and we start to feel that our destiny is not basically the result of our free will, but that of others, and you start to become kind of, you put yourself in a second or third seat position where you say, okay, everyone looks at what others will decide for us rather than say, no, the decision is ours. It's about us shaping up and doing what needs to be done. So this is the generally called the victim mentality, that whether it's at the individual level or societal level, people try to apply to themselves. And of course, it's not easy for society to come out of that. You need exceptional leadership to do it. And I always give this example. If you have someone that is in a very, very difficult health condition, you actually need to bring to them or to get them in front of the best doctors, not the poorest doctors. What we have in our case is actually the poorest doctors trying to treat the most difficult situations. So when you have a company in bankruptcy, you need the best CEOs to turn them around, not the worst CEOs to turn them around. This country is bankrupt. Okay, we have the worst political performance and leadership we've ever had, okay, for the past 25, 30 years. Okay, we are averse to any type of reform. I mean, give me one reform that happened in the past 20 years in this country. No reforms. We don't reform, we don't change. We want to continue to do the same thing and hope for a different outcome. The different outcome is not going to come. It's going to get worse and worse.
Einstein talks about this, basically.
Yeah. I find it funny when people say things are getting better. I always tell them, what do you mean getting better? Not one problem has found a solution. How can it get better? Exactly. You're using it. You're getting used to it, but it's not getting better.
Einstein says that doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results is called insanity.
Exactly.
But how does this, like knowing, because I know that you already also spoke about this in your book, about the impact. I left the country also a couple of years back, and you left the country. There's many people who left the country and did something different. And I remember in the beginning of your book, you spoke about we are the outcome of the things that we go through. How do you see it right now with all, let's say, the potential opportunities that you're seeing, let's say, with, whether through Shark Tank or whether through the people? I'm sure people come to you with ideas, especially, let's say, here, whether in Lebanon or Dubai. How do you interpret the opportunity from that perspective?
I mean, look, yes, we are shaped by what we go through, but we are shaped primarily not by what we go through, but how we deal with what we go through. And when you think about it as an individual level, sometimes it might be unfair, but as a societal level, this is how it works. So the way we as a society deal with the problems that we face has a huge impact on how we charter our future. I mean, take, for example, the problems that we faced with the Palestinian crisis since 1948, how we dealt with the refugee problems rather than dealing with it and basically trying to kind of contain it. We actually allowed it to spread, to actually become an internal problem in Lebanon. Now we have the Syrian refugee problem. We also failed another time at it, although you would have hoped that a country that has went through that first problem have learned from it. On the contrary, not at all. So this is why I'm talking about the poor leadership that we have, economic issues, other issues. So the way you deal with what you go through shapes your future, not so much the way what actually happens. Everyone in life, whether an individual, a company, a society, or a country, goes through problems. I mean, even planet Earth goes through problems. I mean, COVID was a global pandemic. I mean, collectively, the way we went through this issue, we went about it, have shaped what happened afterwards. I mean, look at the public debt markets, how public debt has been ballooning. Look at how people's started to basically deal with vaccines and with health issues. Look at how it influences people's lifestyle. Look at how people started to live and how start to invest in their living environment versus how they used to do before. There is a lot of things that actually happened that are the result of how we dealt with the COVID crisis. So at every level you have that. If you bring it back to us, it's about how we deal with the problem. It's not about the problems. Every one of us in our lives go through challenges, and you see in Lebanon today there is I think maybe one of the most resilient societies you would ever see on planet Earth, which is great. I think we're very resilient, very pragmatic, which is very good. But we are so resilient that we actually accept our faith. So resilience is good to help you go through it, but you have to go through it in the right way by challenging it and making sure it doesn't happen before.
Not put it on the side.
Yeah, I mean, look, we just went through a huge war, 2023 till 2024. The country had been a huge war with the post-October 7 and Hezbollah going into this war and Israel retaliating and nearly destroying the country. We had million or a bit north of 1 million people that basically were internal refugees. We were not ready for it. We said that we couldn't have been ready for it. There was no money. You know, the government was not in a situation to face such a big problem, etc., etc. Yes, absolutely right. Okay, and now this cessation of hostility was signed in November 24. Since then, there has been continuously violations to it, and there has been continuously a kind of acts of war. Okay. Now there is a talk that there will be another war. Great. What did the government do to prepare themselves better?
Nothing.
Did we do since November 24 until now? Did you build one shelter? No. Did you build one more hospital? Did we prepare for another wave of people that might actually get thrown out of their homes? What do we do with it? Did we prepare internal mechanism for the country to be able to cope with that? Nothing. Did we improve our infrastructure? No. Did we do anything? No.
We did for the Pope.
So yeah, and at the same time, you see when the Pope is coming, which is a very important thing, we suddenly kind of put our best foot forward. Great. So if we can do this here, why can't we do a fraction of that? So it's about how you deal with the problems that you face. Everyone faces problems. Everyone faces problems. Leadership is about dealing with these issues, turning them into basically learnings and turning them into something positive. And now when I talk to people, whether in the context of entrepreneurial, whether it's Shark Tank or others, you have so much ambition in Lebanon. But also at the same time, I see it more and more. The world is moving and we're not. Our youth is becoming less ambitious. Our youth is becoming more about the here and now than about the tomorrow, how can I get there? And also, a Lebanese entrepreneur, okay, is put on such an unfair playing field with any other entrepreneur anywhere else in the world. The number of things they have to overcome to be able to just do business, okay, compared to someone in Dubai or anywhere else in the region or the world, is so unfair. And no one is doing anything to fix that. I mean, I'm not asking the government in Lebanon or whatever to basically hand out money, but they can at least deregulate. Why? Because they don't want to reform.
As on this note, because we've went through the process of setting up a company in Lebanon and Dubai. Yeah. In Lebanon, you need days and months to do it. As simple as a company setup. In Dubai, you can do it in 20 minutes.
Of course. And I've been saying that it's unacceptable how complicated this country has become. I don't understand why. a government who is actually made of very good people coming from the private sector now, I'm talking about the current government, why can't they just deregulate? Why can't they just do the minimum, the basic things that do not cost money, but will actually impact people's life? This is leadership. You may not be able to solve the biggest problem, but you can solve the 10 other ones, or solve a big part of the 10 other ones, which will improve things. But you see that actually nothing is happening. So it's very disappointing.
And the businesses that you've actually, not before the businesses, and the talents that you've seen or opportunities that you saw recently. So through Shark Tank, you were exposed to a number of Lebanese entrepreneurs and potential opportunities, I would say. And knowing what you know and the businesses and the actually the changes you've done in the businesses that you've been through, what are the top things or maybe the top problems you saw in Lebanese entrepreneurship, I would say?
So one, I would say ambition. The ambition is much more moderate compared to what it used to be. And I think it's important. I explained part of why this is the case. Two is standards, what good looks like for Lebanese entrepreneur in Lebanon is really mediocre. And I think part of our role is to kind of try to help them to go back to what good standards are. So we've been very much, in the past 10, 20 years, we've been very much looking inward, which is very, I would say in a way antinomic, because we're a very open society. A majority of our society members are actually Lebanese expats. They've seen what good looks like in the US, in Canada, in Europe, in the Gulf, and elsewhere in the world, and they come back with best practice and ideas and whatever. But when you go to about doing business in Lebanon, you see that doing business in Lebanon is very poor. No standards or almost no standards. We don't apply. Basically, even our accounting standards are not the same like what people have elsewhere. We don't use IFRS at all. Again, there are reasons why. This was primarily driven by what happened in the past, I would say 10 years with the banks and how actually leading Lebanese institutions became subpar in terms of standards and so on and so forth. Of course, there's also public finances and governance and so on and so forth. But what I want to say is we are in a country, where we're unable to compete anymore with even countries around us. Understandably, on one side, there is no funding available, there is no banking system available, there is, none of that. It's too complex to export from Lebanon. It's too complex to import to Lebanon. All of the red
even
tape
internet,
about,
electricity.
There is no basic services at any level that's acceptable. Like you said, broadband, connectivity, power, and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, when you put a society in this kind of situation for basically almost 2-3 decades, what do you expect? Things are simply going to level down. And now we are somewhere at the lowest of where we have ever been. And I think people should help others get better. To do that, you should take part in the conversation. You should not compromise and not be complacent, which is something that people not always like. I'm someone who says things the way they are. A lot of people like it. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of time people don't want to hear the reality, the truth, because they want to say, look at the glass half full, whatever. No, it's unacceptable. The glass shouldn't be half full. Why is it half full or quarter full? Actually, where should the glass be and where are we? We should see how we can basically fill it up, not be happy about where we are, because we are not where we should be. And I personally continue to believe that we have to help people progress, understand why it's important to go back to how we used to be. Lebanon used to be a country where people used to come to it for standards.
Even
come to it for standards, come for it to find what they couldn't find elsewhere. And we have basically destroyed that. We have destroyed everything great that we always enjoyed and that Lebanon always had over time.
Wow.
We have simply destroyed it. We have destroyed our economy. We have destroyed our banking system. We have destroyed our country in terms of environment and architecture and whatever. We have destroyed our wildlife. We have destroyed our basically Lebanese hospitality and how we used to be kind of at the gold standard of what good looked like. Our education system, our health
medical
system. We simply have just abandoned ourselves, and I think it's really time to change. And to do that, we have to be much less complacent, much more demanding from the people that actually step up or basically that rule the country. We should be much more demanding in terms of outcomes.
I don't think anyone have ever said it this way, that we have literally, now to think about it, we literally destroyed our country. We majorly destroyed it. But are we too far to be saved?
No one is ever too far to be saved. It's about what do you do to be saved. But the first thing you need to do, acknowledging the problem is 50% of the solution.
Which no one is doing.
So how many Lebanese you talk to casually? I mean, I'm not talking about people that are in a position of leadership, of responsibility, will tell you, no, come on, don't be too harsh, there is this, there is that. This is, for me, one of the big signs or red flags of complacency. When you see something wrong, you should say, this is wrong, we should fix it. How do you fix it? Rather than say, no, this is not that wrong. It is wrong. It's unacceptable. Lebanese people deserve much better outcome from their leaders than they're currently getting. And it's wrong to say, okay, it's good enough. No, it is not good enough. What we need is actually a leadership that is 1,000% better than any leadership in any other world, because we're so far behind in order to be able to build a future for ourselves and the next generations. By settling for good enough, what we are really doing is we are giving away our future. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the biggest issues that we have is our inability, to be truthful with ourselves about our reality. This should change. And for this to change, more people should say it. And more people should have the courage to say, this is not working, this is how this can be fixed. Otherwise, we're simply going to get simply more and more difficult. Yeah. No country is ever too far to be saved. Okay, but saving it can become much more difficult and take much more time.
If you want to think about it, because you're a person who you want to drive impact, would you say, how would you measure, let's say, if you want to talk about right now, you're helping in Lebanon, through your investments and the divisions that you've had, and how would you measure, let's say, the impact with all the challenges that are currently facing in the country?
I mean, look, it's about followership. It's about how much you really touch people's lives and how much you inspire people in what they're doing. This is one measure. And there's other measures that are related to basically the tangible impacts that you drive. But I would say one thing. I think it's Churchill that said it, and someone told me a few days back that this was taken from Einstein, an Einstein letter to his son, that when you're going through hell, just keep walking.
Yeah.
And I think what we really need in Lebanon is to continue walking. We're not in a good place. We just need to get out of this place as fast as possible. But to do that, we have to walk forward, not backwards.
We keep going.
So we have to walk forward, not backwards. And I think this is something that we need to do. And part of it is to basically try to open the eyes of people of saying, no, it's not wrong to be demanding. It's not wrong to be fair with your kids and with your grandkids. It's not wrong to basically require whoever you give them the authority to lead you, you actually require results.
Do you think it's easier, let's say, if we're talking about, let's say, the impact that you would want to do in the region, I would say, or even internationally, is it easier to do this kind of impact when you're in the public sector or in the private sector?
Equally, I think it's equally difficult, equally easy. I think you have different audiences at times, and I think different platforms give you different opportunities, but they're all opportunities. I think public sector, people have huge opportunities to do greatly. Of course, there is also a lot of obstacles to go through, and also same for the private sector, huge opportunity, different obstacles. When you are a leader, you just lead, okay, and you drive impact by touching people's lives positively. Depending where you sit, you can have, as I said, a longer shadow or a shorter one. But in every single situation, you touch people's lives. And I think this is what leaders should be focused on, is how do they touch people's lives in a positive way, how they actually improve things, and how they deliver results.
If you want to think about, let's say, you've seen different countries, you operated in different also countries.
Yes.
What would be what stayed with you in every, let's say, and the challenges that you've faced in different countries through your career?
one of the most interesting findings that I kind of lived through is actually different countries have the same problems. It's very interesting, in my case, I operated in about 17 or 20 countries simultaneously. And you see that actually different countries have different problems, but they're all very similar. They all stem from basically the inability or the unwillingness to reform. Very few countries have problems that are so systemic, or I would say so fundamental issues that they have that actually are so negative or impact them negatively for reasons outside of their control. Very few. Or those who actually exist have the least impact. The biggest problems that all countries face are internal problems about reform and basically and implementation of reforms. And this is one bucket. The other bucket is that people clinging to power and not wanting to let go. So you can summarize them into reform on the one side, and two, into basically renewal of the political class. Every country in the world they had problems. It boils down to these two problems. You have a political class who doesn't want to move. Okay, he wants to just stay in power. Okay, one way or the other, could be the same people, or could be the same party, or could be the same whatever. And on the other side, there is an unwillingness to reform. And then you start to face problems, and rather than solving the root cause of the problem, you continue to solve the symptoms, or try to solve the symptoms, but actually the root cause are still there. Exactly. All countries have similar problems. It's so easy. There is a pattern recognition that's so obvious there. And the solutions are also obvious, but very few people are willing to do what it takes. There is this thing about I think I saw a picture somewhere or a drawing where people wanting a better life, like a better health. Okay, so you have one window where it's written pills and
supplements and such.
Yeah, pills and supplements, and these now new weight loss drugs, etc. Okay, and the other one is lifestyle. So you have a queue on the window that says pills and supplements and whatever, and lifestyle. You have two people on that. So people generally want the outcome, but they don't want to go through the effort. Reforms means effort. Reforms means you're going to cut what you like. Okay, you're going to eat less. You're not going to eat the stuff that you fancy. And you're going to do stuff that is actually healthier to you, but actually may not be as taste as good. Or you might have to make some effort. You might have to go to the gym. You might have to do X, Y, Z. You have to be disciplined. So no one wants to do that. Everyone wants to basically take a pill and solve the problem, or take an injection and solve the problem. It doesn't work this way. And it's the same for governments. It's the same for countries. Same for companies. Reforms mean more pain. Okay, short-term pain for long-term gain. People don't want to do that.
They want instant gratification.
Exactly. What actually end up happening is problems that become more and more difficult to solve until they become unsolvable. And then someone comes and actually solves these problems. But it might be in 10 years, in 5 years, or in 50 years. You never know. Or in 200 years.
Or it might not even happen.
Yeah, I mean, it always happens at the end.
Yeah, exactly. And in your book, you mention people do not have to love you or like you.
Yes.
What they really need to know is that you have their back when it matters.
Yes.
How would you know that? Or let's say, when you're a leader, what's the best way to make sure that this is happening?
Is to actually, you have to live up to it. So what I wanted to say there is that being a leader is not a beauty contest. Being a leader is not being the most liked guy in the room, is not being the funniest guy in the room, is not being the guy that people love in the room. Being a leader is actually providing. It's not what you get from others, it's what you give others. So being a leader is about providing others the safety, okay, and the support that they need for them to shine and be leaders. And to do that, you have to give them one, space. And two, they have to know that you have their back when they need you. Because, if you are the CEO of a company and you don't have the back of your team, they will never trust you. Leadership, in its essence, is trust. People trust you with their future. People trust you with their way forward. People trust you with their career. People trust you to make the right choice. People trust you that you are going to be support them. You're going to support them for them to actually shine and to improve and to progress. So this trust bond between you as a leader and your team or your people in general is actually what defines your leadership. The stronger the bond, the stronger the trust. The stronger the trust, the stronger the bond, and the stronger is the followership. Okay, you might be the least funny person in the room or whatever you want, but as long as people know that you will be there if they need you, you'll have their back if they need you, they can turn at you or look up to you, and basically they're going to get the answer they need when they need it in a moment of doubt or of uncertainty. This is what a leader is about. When you inspire that to people, you are a leader.
Nice, I love that. What about, let's say, when you talk about, let's say, culture? I know, again, that you say that this is the water we swim in and the air that we breathe.
Yeah.
How can we make sure, or how would you advise CEOs or top leaders to make sure that they have the right culture in their company?
No, culture is very simple. It's very difficult, very simple. It's simply just walk your talk. So it's very simple. Culture is culture is simply what, how would I say? Culture is simply the result of our action and our behaviors. There is no product called culture. You cannot buy culture from somewhere. No consultant can sell you a culture. You can't go to a supermarket and buy culture. Okay, culture is not a product. Culture is an outcome, and it's an outcome of the collective behavior. And I would define it as it's the unwritten rules that people apply to themselves when they are together. So you have a culture in a couple. You have a culture in a family. You have a culture in a country. You have a culture in a company. You have a culture in a department. You always have cultures. Whenever you have more than one individual, two people plus, they develop a culture. And culture is shaped by the behaviors of individuals. So if you want to improve your culture, you have one to role model as the leader, okay? And you need to make sure that basically that your team is walking the talk. And they have to make sure that their teams, that they are walking the talk themselves, and their teams, and so on and so forth. So culture is the outcome of a collective effort that people contribute to individually, okay? And everyone feels that they will not make a difference, but actually they do make a difference in the overall result, okay? That everyone enjoys.
What about
or actually suffers from? So you need a culture that enables people to be at their best, not a culture that disables people.
Nice. What about, let's say, if you're dealing with, I'm sure you've had this situation, when, let's say, you have someone who's really talented, but very bad for the culture.
Yeah.
What would be your intake on that?
It's very different. It's very simple. So it depends on the situations, how you deal with it. But basically, the different phases, I would say, one is you have to have a come to Jesus conversation with them. So sometimes you have to understand, are they aware of it or not? So a lot of people could be very toxic, but they may not be aware that they are very toxic. So here you have to try to understand, are they open to improvement or not? Can they see it or not? Do they realize it or not? If they don't realize it, you have to see, you can support them into actually opening their eyes to how their behavior, how they are behaving and what it means. If you see that this is not possible, then you have to simply protect the public good, and basically you have to let them go. If they are able to do it, then you have to support them to actually mutate from a toxic person to actually a person that contributes positively. And if you are successful in doing so, they become a very inspiring story for others.
Wow.
So it's actually a great thing to do when you can.
Have you seen it happen?
Yes.
Like,
I've seen people migrate from being a toxic person to a great contributor, and I've seen people basically stubbornly wanting to continue to be where they are and being toxic.
If you go back 20 years, what would you do? If you know, actually, to frame it this way, if you know what you know now, and you have the resources you have now,
yes,
and you go back 20 years, what would you do different?
I wouldn't know what I know and be able to do what I do.
You get the knowledge.
It doesn't work this way. I know this is a question that people always ask, but at the end of the day, you never relive your life with the results of a previous one. So there is no point in saying, what would I do differently now? What really matters is actually say, what am I going to do differently tomorrow? Because you can't change what happened. You cannot relive your life. And even if you could live your life, you wouldn't live it with the knowledge that you have now, because the knowledge, experience that you have now is something that you accumulated through the years and accumulated through your behaviors and your journey and the mistakes and the learnings you got. So I'm very grateful for everything I've learned, but I've learned them out of practice, and that practice had its plus and minuses, it had its mistakes, it had its failures, it has its successes. So otherwise I wouldn't be the person I am.
And then the second part would be, based on this conversation and what you just said right now, so what's next for Alain?
Well, what's next for me is basically my book that is coming out in end of March 2026. I'm very much looking forward to it, and that's going to be between now and then, and also most of 26 is going to be a lot on the thought leadership side about that. I really hope that the book is successful, that people like it, that they find it useful and inspiring a little bit. And this is something that really matters a lot to me. I've been doing a lot of investments and in startups and in different type of businesses, and I'm enjoying that a lot, so I'm going to do more of it. And you're going to see me much more present in the things these things that I'm doing. It's going to take more and more of my time going forward, but I also want to continue to protect what I enjoy as well, which is basically doing nothing as much as I can.
That's beautiful. Would you ever think about politics?
I mean, look, politics is, there's different definition. Yes, I love politics, but I mean, I love politics in the context of contributing to a better outcome and being able to be a positive force there. And I think that you can do that in different ways. I think thought leadership is a very important part of it. You can do that in, as I said, touching people's lives positively by putting your ideas out there, contributing to it. It doesn't have to be being in a political role. So I'll continue to do what I like about it.
Perfect. Awesome.